After 2 minutes, sessionkeena waa bilaaban doonaa. Dad kalena waa caadi gadaal ay usoo biiri doonaa insha Allah. Asalaamu calaykum, markale soo dhawaada. Waxaa caawa si toos ah inoogu bilaaban doono kulankeenii bilaha ahaa ee AI Soomaaliya. Caawa kulankan waxaa marti inoogu ah Bunmi Akarimi. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Bunmi waxaa isleeyahay waa gabar machine learning engineer ah. Sidoo kale waa GitHub Campus expert iyo sidoo kale intaan ka aqaan waa Microsoft Student Ambassador. Bunmi waxaa isku baranay GitHub Fidelity oo ka dhacay event Kigali. So yeah, eventyo badan oo caalami ah as a speaker waa ugu qayb gashay. So ayadana skin bari doonto. So yeah, Bunmi, welcome again. I would like to welcome you with our monthly AI Somalia meeting. Yeah, you know me, I don't want to introduce myself to you. Like, you know me, I'm Sudan, the introvert guy. So yeah, welcome. And also we have Abdulaziz, who's also a member of the community committee. And of course we have these amazing participants joining us tonight and to learn and benefit from this session. Yeah, I would like to welcome you again. So I already introduced you to them, so but anyway, please go ahead and share with them there tonight. I think most of the participants are having issues with Microsoft Teams, but anyway, we should start our meeting. You're welcome.
Okay. Hi everyone. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, of course you can.
Awesome, great. Hi everyone. Good evening or morning. I don't know what time it is. I think it's probably evening. Yeah. So I'm Bunmi Akarimi, and I'm a current machine learning engineer. And really excited that Sido invited me today to speak to you guys about reinforcement learning. And because I assume that no one is like familiar with reinforcement learning or know what it's about, I deliberately excluded like all mathematics, all stuff related to mathematics. So I hope it's going to be interactive. I hope it's going to be interesting. I also hope that at the end someone would probably pick a career in this like me. And I hope that you'll be able to tell somebody about what you learned today, you know, what reinforcement learning is about, and what are some popular applications in the field. And you know, and I hope we have a great time. So if at any time you feel that I am too fast, just let me know, right? Because sometimes I just get overly excited and you know I'm off the rails. So just let me know if you feel that I'm too fast and you can all hear me again. Okay. Cool. So while I'm sharing my screen, I just want someone to just one or two, three people to just tell me in the chat what you know about reinforcement learning. If you've heard about reinforcement learning before, like, I just want to know, has anybody heard about reinforcement learning? You can just type in the chat. I just want to like know. Anybody heard about reinforcement learning before? Okay, one person, Hannah, right? Anybody else? Okay, just Hannah and Mohammed. Oh, and Sido. Of course, Sido. Okay, and Yasis. Okay, Jabril. Okay, cool. It seems like I have a couple of hands in the room. Thank you everyone for raising your hand. And has anyone worked with reinforcement learning algorithms? Like, have you ever like wondered, okay, there's something called reinforcement learning, but how does it work? Like, you tried to do that before? Um, Perhaps anybody has been that excited. So you can just like raise your hand like you did before. If you've like gone beyond just I heard about it, but you actually like took it a step further and you know tried something out. Anybody? I mean, it's fine if you haven't. I just want to know so that uh I know how deep or wide to go. Okay, cool. I suppose no one. Um, also you. Okay, cool. I want to confirm if you can see my screen. Ready? Never into my screen. Is it visible? Yes. Oh, awesome. Great. So today, you're probably wondering why are we talking about reinforcement learning right now? I mean, the whole world is talking about AI. The world is like doing LLMs and GenAI here, GenAI there, Gemini, OpenAI, ChatGPT. Like those are like the keywords. They've been trending since forever. And then all of a sudden we're picking up reinforcement learning. Like, is it relevant? Is it needed? It's not a new concept. So if you've probably not heard of it before, like it's not new. It's been around for like pretty much I don't know the year exactly, but it's been around as long as AI has been around. But it's just that the term has sort of morphed over time, right? And reinforcement learning, like super exciting. And I'm gonna tell you why. So this is supposed to be like um brief intro about me. I think Sido already like did justice because I'm an ML engineer. I like to build. I also like to do research. And that's why you probably see me maybe if anyone has looked me on LinkedIn before, you're like, okay, at some point she was doing NLP, at one point she was doing computer vision, and now she's doing reinforcement learning. Like, yeah, I'm probably like that agent that's never satisfied. But I just tend to I approach problem solving as trying to put together pieces of different puzzles, right? And so if this puzzle requires that I learn something new, probably seeing it there. And if while learning, like while trying to put the puzzle together, I have to learn something new, right? And then you see me there. Right. So but right now I'm basically in reinforcement learning, doing research, currently working on a project around helping NGOs you know, identify, locate waste using reinforcement learning. And I think that's like really exciting. And that's like a really exciting field I haven't seen so many people like approach. And so that's probably why I can stand here before you today and tell you a little bit about reinforcement learning. Okay. So today, the content is like really not so much because I intend that At the end, we just walk through one of the learning resources that I'm going to share, which is 𝐁𝐭∫𝐧𝐭 tutorial on how to like get started with uh, teaching the reinforcement learning. So, and also, like I mentioned before, there is not going to be any maths, right? I'm going to try as much as possible to convey what I'm saying without having to put in the math. But the math is very important, but because I suppose that many of us are like new, and I don't want it to sound like overly complex, right? Some of us already have a hard day, so there's no point making it worse. Okay, so fine, let's start with like the most exciting part, which is how what I term AI agents. So now you're like, okay, what's AI agents? What's reinforcement learning? The AI agents you've probably heard about before is AI agents in terms of LLMs. You're having like an LLM go to the internet for you, search, do web scraping, you sort of automate stuff, right? But the thing is, if you've ever sat down and figure out how do I build a large language model that has probably like maybe it's like 75 gig or whatever the size of the model, right? And how does it go from being just like a blob file or pickle file or whatever? How does it go about, doing all these activities, right? And how does it know that it's doing the right thing? And that's one of the applications of reinforcement learning that I'm going to talk about today. Um, so reinforcement learning is is a very, very interesting approach to problem solving, right? In the sense that you're teaching someone, right? So in typical machine learning, what we do is we take the model, right? Take an algorithm, take the data, and then you're training the model on data so that it learns. And then afterwards, you like give it new set of data and you ask it to predict. For reinforcement learning, we're doing something different in the sense that, okay, I'm in a real world, right? Just like a baby gets into the real world and the baby is trying to like navigate, right? So if you've ever watched where a baby is trying to have his first steps, right? So the baby has been crawling and then he's trying to have his first steps. So he sees mommy, he sees daddy have been walking, and then he's like, okay, let me try to stand up and walk. So the first time he tries to stand, he's probably gonna topple over. And then the second time he tries to stand, it's like, okay, woo, 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 it's wobbling here, it's trying to balance. And then maybe when he sees that he's able to balance, he wants to take the first step, right? And that's like what we're doing. So no one actually sits down and teaches the baby. If you want to walk, you first of all maintain your balance, you stand up, and then you take a step. No one does that, right? The baby just learns it. And that's like the idea, the concept of bringing into reinforcement learning, right? Where you're trying to teach a model or an agent, right? So I tend to call it more like agent more than a model because it's like doing, right? So it's learning, it's doing, it's understanding like the situation of things right now, and then it's taking actions towards, achieving a particular goal. So now the baby's goal is to walk, right? It wants to walk like mommy, it wants to walk like daddy, right? And then it's in this room, maybe it's in the living room, there's a couch there, there's a table there, right? There's a flower vase there, and then there's a television there, right? And then the baby is trying to walk to meet mommy. Mommy sitting on the couch. The baby is beside the table, right? And now the baby first needs to understand, okay, what's the environment like? It doesn't probably want to fall down and hit his head or something, right? And then, so that's also the idea when it's trying to teach an agent such that you're in an environment, you have to take cognizance of that environment where you are, and how can you map your situation to taking efficient action so that the baby doesn't walk towards the table, hits his end on the table and start crying, right? But the baby instead choose a path that is closest to the mommy, right? While also walking. Okay. So this is more like a conceptual picture that Can anyone still hear me? Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, I believe everyone can hear me now and also see my screen also, right? I want to confirm if you can see my screen. Awesome. Okay, cool. Great. So where was I? Yeah, I was saying that now that we have the analogy, right, of what reinforcement and what agents are, right? Let's look at some applications. So if anyone recently followed the CES world event, that's Consumer Electronic Service. Yeah. And basically where NVIDIA announced their largest AI chip, and all sort of companies from China, from like all the companies around the world sort of demonstrated their latest inventions. You would see that something that struck out and is it's consistent is the idea of having even more intelligent, more smart industry robots, right? And now, of course, there are robots without reinforcement learning, right? I mean, it has its own way of teaching a robot how to learn, things like that. But then when you're bringing machine learning to make that robot even more intelligent, right? And that's one of the places where reinforcement learning is key, especially in industrial robots, where you want the robot to be able to adjust to changes in the new environment, right? In industries or in manufacturing, it's pretty fixed. You either move from this stage to another stage, right? But then what if something happens and then we have to make a little change somewhere, right? How does this little change impact the efficiency of these industrial robots? And this is one of the places where this is where we're seeing, reinforcement learning being deployed, so that the agents is still, or the robot is still able to adapt to whatever change it is in that new environment. Okay. And in gaming, like maybe some of you, I'm trying to remember this game. I don't know if you guys know it, but there's this game that was developed in Nigeria recently, and basically you have you're playing against AI, right? I'm not sure if it's in Call of Duty though. I don't really play it, so I don't really know, but I have brothers that play it. So this is where they just say, okay, you're playing against AI. Of course, there are cases where you're playing against bots, but it gets to a point where the bots are really smart. And you can't just shoot them anyhow again. They know how to dodge bullets now, and it just sort of increases the difficulty. So yeah, we now have AI in gaming, right? Which is not, I don't think it's new to anyone, right? But then the concept of reinforcement learning being applied such that when the dynamics of the game change, the AI is able to change according to the dynamics. So it's trying to learn how you play, right? At the same time, it's trying to bring in its own tactics, its own way of playing, right? And also in football analytics. So there was this guy that I know of, right, that how he sort of really kickstarted his career is that he designed I think he did analytics, was it for Manchester United? I can't remember the club exactly, but he sort of designed AI agents that mimic each player in the club, right? And then just sort of mix their playing style. And I think that was really cool. So, yeah, these are one of the things, for example, a coach wants to evaluate if a strategy would work, would not work, you know, and kind of stuff like that. So you can just have AIs learn that strategy and see how it beats the opponent. So, I mean, that sort of saves time, right, in the field. yeah, of course, it's being used right now. It's probably just not on the news and all. And also in evaluating LLM. So remember I talked about um how can you know that your model, your large language model is doing the right thing? How do you know that? How do you know like what is generating is right? And if you've used ChatGPT before, right, you see that maybe after ChatGPT gives a response, is like gives a thumbs up or thumbs down. So now the essence of that is that you're trying to tell the model that, yeah, you did a good job, hey, you did a bad job, right? And that is also some sort of feedback. So what does it do with that feedback? It takes that feedback. So if you give it a thumbs up, it means that, hey, you got a reward of good, right? It means that, okay, I'm doing a good job. And if you give it a thumbs up of bad, it means that, okay, like it just did rubbish, and then it should not do that again. Okay. So yeah, and it is called reinforcement learning with human feedback, right? So it is one of the recent methods used in evaluating large language models, and also in targeted marketing, right? Even though this is probably not as fully blown as popular, but you can also use reinforcement learning to decide um how, what ads gets to who, and like you're trying to like evaluate. So you're not just like giving ads and then discounting, right? If you know how an ad system works, but then you're giving ads, did this person even look at the ad, right? It did not. Like you learn something about that person and then give another ad that the person is most likely to click on. So it's probably going to increase and improve ads accuracy, right? And not just an ad that's relevant to you, but an ad that you're most likely going to click on. And of course, self-driving cars, right? They've been around since like forever. But then a not so popular thing about them is that they also use reinforcement learning because they need to be able to understand the environment they are in right now and evaluate that to what action they take. So imagine this scene where this self-driving car is on the road, pedestrians are crossing, right? And everyone has crossed except for this old woman. Now, everybody wants to move, right? You know that once the pedestrian light moves from green to red, it means move. But then there's an old man in the middle of the road. So what should the robot do, right? Because this is like a change of an environment that it's a change of an environment, right? How does it adapt? Does it move forward, right? Or does it move backward? Or what exactly does it do? So yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so initially I just gave like an overview, but reinforcement learning really it is like a branch of machine learning, right? Only that you're not providing a set of training examples, but you're like, okay, you're in the real world, how do you navigate this real world, right? And you're not just navigating like randomly, moving without a goal. You have a goal, right? You have a reward, you have somewhere you want to get to, you have a destination, right? And you want to make sure that whatever goal is that, like whatever goal you want to have, you want to maximize that goal, right? In whatever situation you have, right? And now, how do you define reinforcement learning? So there are like three basic key things, although there are five, but three things stand out to you. Number one is the robot itself, which we call the agent. Number two is the action the robot takes. Number three is what it gets from taking that action, right? So there's a robot, it moves left. Is that a good or bad move? That's the reward. Okay. And now this agent is in an environment, which is something also important that the agent has to take cognizance of, right? And that environment has a state. So now what is a state? So a state is more like, I can say it's like a moment in time, right? So for example, I'm here, I'm sitting, right? I'm in an environment like a hub, right? So like there are computers around me, but I'm somewhere I'm sitting. So my state at time zero is me sitting on this chair, right? So my state at time one would be maybe me moving forward or me moving backward. So it's like I am in the environment, but my action or my movement at a particular time is what is called the state. Okay. And so, um, okay, someone has a question. Right. So what's the question? I think that's Samuel. Do you have a question? Someone you can ask a question if you have one. Okay. I'm gonna take that as an error. Okay, cool. So, yeah. So I define what a state is, right? An agent is in an environment, but the position of that agent at a point in time is the state. Okay. And so, for example, the agent at time t1 or t equals to 1 is standing. So the agent takes an action A1 and turns to the left, right? So the agent is still in the environment, but the state has changed, right? So now it's not just at the center, he has turned to the left. So the new state would be the agent at the left, okay? And of course, the reward. So the reward you get is, okay, I took an action. Is this a good or a bad thing, right? Me moving to the left, was it ideal, right? Did I get a positive reward for moving to the left, or did I get a negative reward? So if the agent moves and gets a negative reward, it's like, that's a bad idea. I'm not gonna do it again, right? So it was like, because the agent wants to maximize the reward, you want to have more positives than negatives. Okay. Yeah. So this is still explaining the same thing. Yep, your agent has environment, state, action, reward. Now I talked about the agents, I talked about the agents being in the state. So how do you know, like how do you measure if how does the agent even know what action to take? How does it know I should go left, I should go right, right? And how does it know if this action is a good or bad thing? And that's where you have things like policy, right? Policy, which is supposed to like say, okay, if you take action A1, is it the optimal? Like, what's your chance of success, or what's the chance of having a greater reward if you do take action T1, action A1, or as compared to taking action A2, A3, A4. Okay, so imagine if you were playing Minecraft game, right? And so you're like, okay, should I jump up? If I jump up, maybe it's gonna get stuck somewhere. Should I run? Should I move forward? If I take a step forward, am I gonna fall into a ditch? Should I jump instead? Right? You know, so it's more like the agent is trying to evaluate which action should I take that gives me the optimal reward. If I move forward, I fall into a ditch, game over. If I jump over the ditch, well, game continues, right? So you can see now that there are two rewards, right? So you jump into the ditch, you have a negative reward, right? And the episode ends. If I jump over the ditch, right, I get a positive reward because that's a good thing. Yeah, I didn't die. Yeah, that's a good thing. And then it continues, right? And if you're going to explain the states, so the state at the agent are taking no action. The agent takes no action, standing, right? The agent takes an action forward. The new state is in the ditch, right? The agent takes an action, jump. The new state is what? Jumped, right? The next block or the next ground after that ditch. Okay. And then the policy defines, helps it to decide what action should I take that's optimal. Okay. So how does it do that? So first of all, it observes the input state, and then takes an action, which is determined by the making function. The action is performed. Then it now receives a reward, which is can be positive or negative, and then it records that. So it learns from that. So it takes an action. This is negative. It doesn't want to do negative. It want to get positive, right? And then like that. Okay. Yeah. So now, how is reinforcement learning different from machine learning, right? So reinforcement learning, right? The goal is to maximize rewards over time. in the sense that, okay, I have a goal, right? And I have a target, and I want to get to my goal, right? I want to get to my target. So I want to make sure that I get the maximum reward. Okay. So now, but what machine learning does, so RL focuses on maximizing cumulative rewards over time, right? And machine learning learns from patterns. So machine learning, you have your training data and you have like this large sample of data. You like learn so that when I give you new data, you're able to like adapt. Okay. But reinforcement learning, that's a different scenario. Like, okay, I'm in the real world, right? I take an action. The action is good. Yay, I continue. It's bad. No, I take another action, right? And so that's like the fundamental difference between the two. And also they have like different goals, right? So AI agent is probably like getting to a destination, but ML is more like I want to learn the most that I can learn so that by the time I see data that I have not been trained on, I can make the most accurate prediction of, make the most accurate remark, right? And that's the essence of um that's what ML is for. Okay. Great. And reward, right? The reward is you score a goal, yay, everyone's happy, the club's happy. The policy is okay. So now I want to score a goal, but how do I move from the start of the pitch, right, to the goalpost? And when I get to the goalpost, how do I kick that ball, not to the side, to the left or to the right, but inside the goalpost? Okay. And so the reward function sort of helps you define that goal, right? It helps you like, okay, this is the way. So maybe you say, okay, we're gonna go turn left, we're gonna move forward. If you see someone coming, you sort of dribble the person and then you turn. The reward function is sort of helping you define that goal by giving you steps. So as you're moving, if you're moving in the right direction, probably gives you like maybe +1, you're getting plus, yay, good. You're moving the wrong direction or someone takes the ball from you, that's a negative. So next time, don't let someone take the ball from you. Okay. So yeah, and that's like defining a reward function, what it does. But the policy now is I have my reward, right? And the policy is more like suggesting actions. So the policy is saying, okay, turn left, you know. So you have like in real worlds, for example, on a real world football pitch where you have like an infinite amount of directions you can take it, you can either turn left at angle 40 or 45 or like all these directions. It's not like you're just moving left, right, front, center. Like you have like an infinite amount of direct like places you can kick the ball to, right? So the policy is more like predicting which of these actions gives you the most reward, okay? And that's what it helps you to do. And so I've done a lot of talking. So this is basically supposed to introduce you to what reinforcement learning is, some applications, how it works fundamentally. But of course, there are like various algorithms that are being used. It started from having what's called queue learning, where you have like a table that stores, okay, so the agent is saying, okay, I took action A1, I got reward R1, right? Maybe I turned left, I got a score of -2. At another time, I turned right, I got a score of +5, right? So it wants to learn from its past actions, right? But also knowing that an agent does not, unlike machine learning, agent doesn't use historical data. It's more like um, my new state is a function of just the immediate state, like whatever action I take in my past states defines what the new state is going to be. So it does not need historical data, right? No, it doesn't do it. It doesn't need it to have taken like 1,000 steps. It just needs to train, right? It just needs to train or learn a good policy function that helps it take better decisions. So it's not like the agent is learning, no. But instead, all those actions is taking is helping to define a better policy function, right? And they're like algorithms that help you to do that, but I feel that that's going to be highly technical and mathematical. But again, you can read up on your own. and I recommend the 𝐁𝐤𝐧𝐿 Deep Learning course. I took the course and it's like super exciting and interesting. It has like a lot of diagrams. And if you feel that you want more, I also recommend the Deep Reinforcement Learning course from MIT, right? Um, it's really in-depth. They teach you like you're taking a lecture, but it's also like really beneficial. Okay. I want to just let me see. We have about less than 20 minutes. We have less than 20 minutes. I would have loved that to be to like a quick hands-on, but before we do that, I want to know if there are like questions. Does anybody have any question so far? Any question? See, I mean, like literally ask me any question. If you feel that something wasn't like explanation enough. Uh, are there any questions?
qofka su-aal qabo just gacanta la taagto waa microfonka loo furi doonaa insha allah. axmed axmed waa hadli kartaa, microfonka kuu furan yahay.
Asido, I'm not sure I got that.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm audible. Am
Yeah.
I?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonmi, for your effort. Actually, my query is, what mathematical level, what level do I require to know about mathematics coming to this field? Or is mathematics required to learn machine learning, all those?
That's a good question. To learn machine learning, you probably don't need like too much mathematics. You probably just need your high school knowledge of calculus, statistics, and linear. I think I'm trying to remember the third one. Right. You don't like need a PhD level kind of mathematics or something like that. You just need at least your basic high school math to get you started. But in reinforcement learning, right? Because from the very start, you're like being introduced to mathematics. So from the beginning, it's unlike machine learning where you can like, you know what supervised learning is, you're training your algorithms, you don't really care how they work. But in reinforcement learning, from the very start, you're like, I just explained what a policy function is, but there's actually representation. So if you want to see what a policy function looks like, probably going to see some equations. And yeah, so starting out, you probably know if you're starting like from the very beginning, like you're starting your first data science program and you're not really familiar with the maths, reinforcement learning might seem a bit scary, but it's not. It's actually like really simple. There's some people that like help you abstract that math. So I'm not saying that you should not learn it because there's math. No, I'm saying that some people have like done really great job in simplifying it for you. So for example, there is this guy, Serrano Academy on YouTube. Like he does a really great job in breaking down this concept. So it's gonna explain it so much that you're gonna forget that this is maths, right? So by the time you come back and see the maths, it doesn't look so scary again. Okay. So it's more like telling you that there is maths, but it doesn't mean that if you don't know the maths, that's the end of the road. Right. I hope you understand. Let me know if I answered the question.
Yeah, that's enough. I really thank you for that. My second query is, while I'm just trying to give chance to others, now that AI and machine learning, all those technologies is disrupting every industry, at the moment, people just try to shift careers. Some try, because of the AI, something that this might replace their current jobs. So it's like they feel like shifting career. Then some others just embrace it and welcome the use of AI. So what would you say to those who just see AI, who just assume that AI might replace humans?
I'm not sure if I have like the perfect answers to that, but I mean, I am more on the, if I'm to give my own personal opinion, it's more like we're just observing what's going on. But I think what would be good for everyone generally is if we try to not have a totally negative mindset towards AI, right? Um, it is fine for some people to adopt it much later than some, right? Um, yeah, but I also feel that there are also like a lot of hype and overestimation of exactly what AI can do, cannot do. But now, how do we know what it can do? What I mean, I'm in the field, right? And I'm still, I still have to like learn from people and know, okay, for example, software engineers, right? To what extent can AI replace software engineering? Um, I know AI can replace programmers, but the whole concept of being a software engineer is more than just writing code, right? Writing code is like only a very minute part. Okay, not so minute, but it's only a small part about the whole software engineering concept. And that's why I think that AI probably isn't going to completely uh, overtake. But again, let's just have like a positive mindset about how AI can help you rather than how AI is going to destroy you. Yeah, and also try to, if you can sort of distill what's true and what's not, because again, people are like just farming engagement, and I see them all over. I see them on Twitter. I see them like everywhere. So I know that some people are just like lying. They're just like saying things that are not true. So I mean, it's up to us again to say, okay, this is true, this is not true. So that's what I'll say. I mean, depending on your country, the laws, right? So while on the global scale of things, or maybe in the US only, like AI is replacing jobs, but in your country, like I don't know about how the adoption of AI is. It seems rather unlikely, so you're safe. Right. There's still like a lot of conversations around how this applies to individual countries. So AI is taking people's job, maybe in the US, but in your country, is AI taking anyone's job really? So what's the adoption rate? I think that also um affect things. Yeah. Okay. There are any more questions? Any other question? Okay. There is no other question. So I have like 8. Okay. I see something in the Q&A. Okay. Um, okay. Okay. I think you can ask a question. Umari, I think.
Thanks, Puna. I have one question about that sense. So I want to tell me how reinforcement learning integrated into the field of that sense.
Okay. You're asking about ethics, right? Did I get your question? You're asking about how reinforcement learning helps ethics, right?
Integrated about field of that sense. Integrate reinforcement learning.
I'm not sure I got are you saying ethics or essence? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it says like data science.
Data science.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Data science reinforcement learning. They're two different fields. Um, data science is more about it's depending on who you ask, really. Um, some people say data science is under machine learning. Some people say data science encapsulates machine learning. But I'm not here to debate all the kind of questions. But just know that they're two different fields because they have like different aims and objectives. So reinforcement learning is not deep learning, right? But it is part of machine learning because act, right? What to do. So it's under the idea of teaching agents. Okay. But data science is much more broad because you're talking about data. So the data science, the focus is more about data, what you get from the data, blah blah blah. But in reinforcement learning, your focus is not really about the data, it's more about the agent itself. So they have like two different focus. Okay. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Okay. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. I want to tell me what type of data are required when you are in reinforcement learning. What type of data required?
Okay. Um, Now, remember I mentioned that in reinforcement learning, you're not really working with like past data, right? You're not really dealing with you don't have like you don't need to have like a large database, thousands of rows, right? To train your agent, but it's more like the agent is in an environment, and now you're trying to determine how the agent should move in that environment. So it acts a little bit like unsupervised learning, right? In the sense that in unsupervised learning, you just give the model the data and then you ask it to figure things out, right? So something like that. But here you give the model the environment, right? And you're like, okay, so you take an action, I penalize you or I reward you, right? So it's not like your traditional way of training machine learning models where you just take the data, give the model and it learns. But here, the data is gotten, it's not like it's gotten real time as you train. So as you move, you learn to get the data, you take another action and on and on. So the data in this sense is more like the state of that model per time. So that's more like the data. So data is like the state of this model per time, the state, the action, the reward per time. Yeah, that's what the data looks like.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I see another question in the Q&A. It says, as a beginner, what foundational knowledge should I focus on to better understand reinforcement learning concepts and their applications? Mm, um, I think I need to know where you're coming from, right? So if your background is software engineering, um there's a different path for you. If your background is maybe you're already into data, maybe you do something like data science, data analytics, your path is also slightly different, right? Compared to someone who is not in tech at all, right? Who's just learning about um just hearing this for the first time. So if you're in software engineering, I think that for you, you're already familiar with coding, you're already familiar with things like that. You just need to see maybe you need to like refresh your math basics, so that when you see these things, you just understand, okay? There are also like videos that you can watch, books you can read, right? So being a software engineer like helps you scale through the code part, right? And just helps you like grab things easier and faster. So coming from the data part, you already understand what data is, right? So no one needs to explain to you why we need to train the model this data. So what you just need to do is, and you're probably also familiar with like some maths because there's some maths in data science, especially statistics, right? So you're probably like yeah, you know some statistics, you know metrics, you know these things. So you're probably just going to get accustomed to, okay, what this code looks like. Maybe seeing a little bit more maths. And it's just like you're learning more about your field, really. But if you're not in any of this and you're just like new to tech, then uh it depends on how far you're willing to go. I would not say you should start from math, because if you're coming from somewhere like linguistics, from arts, or from other kind of engineering that's not really tech, that's not really computer focused engineering, um, you just need to figure out, okay, do I have the relevant math background? If not, I'm not going to say you should start with maths, because you might get bored and you might get frustrated. So just start with learning, basics of what data is, basics of what data science is. So that I'm saying data science so that you get familiar with the terms, right? If you go straight up from learning Python to reinforcement learning, it's going to be difficult because you don't know what the model is, you don't know why we need to do X, Y, Z, right? So if you go through the data science route, so you learn about data science, you understand what machine learning is, you understand how to build a machine learning model. So by the time you come to deep reinforcement learning or reinforcement learning, like it makes more sense to you. So that's like a better route. Okay, I hope I answered the question. So I wanted to walk us through, this is Hugging Face.
Okay, waxaan filayaa internet problem u haysto. I hope inay soo laabato. So sessionka caawa waxaan filayaa inaan wax badan ka faa'iideynayo. She's come back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Okay, so I think time is up already. I wanted to like walk us through like a simple way on how to build a reinforcement learning from scratch. But I think what I will do instead is I'm gonna share the course with Sido so that it shares it with you, and you can just like go through it step by step. It's very informative and it's like very easy to follow. I do recommend it. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do instead. So thank you for having me, Sido. I hope that you all learned like one or two things from the session today.
Yeah, great session. Very excited to have you tonight. I hope you will have another session. So yeah, I hope wax badan ka faa'iidaysteen. Meetingkeena caawa. Meetingka wuxuu noqon doonaa monthly. Bil kastoo ay Soomaali qab ay ku cusubtahay. Marka isdee qof su'aalo qabo ma jira oo weydiin lahaa. Walbo wuu furan karaa microphone wuu hadli karaa qofkii su'aal qaba intaanan meetingka soo xirin.
practical session ma jiro miya?
Yeah, caawa waxaa ugu talagalnay kaliya introduction oo reinforcement ah. So iyo coding walking through inay coding samayso oo kale. Laakiin practical sessions oo modelo oo machine learning la tababarayo session kala ka dhigan doona insha Allah laakiin caawa sessionkeena wuxuu ahaa maadaama waxyaala isweydiinayeen waxay ka mid ahayd qof aan basic model dhisi karin how reinforcement learning oo sidee loo fahansiin karaa su-aalo aad u adag yihiin marka session hadda waxaa filaa inaad sida reinforcement uu yahay inaa wax badan ka faa'iidaysteen sessionada xigna waxaa isku dayi doonaa inaa qabano kuwa oo modelo oo uu dhisaayo uu traingelinayo marka qof kale su-aal qaba hadduu jiro
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام سلو
أستاذ ما سنت سؤال ما قبل لكن وحربي مهلي كرنا
اسمعي
سلايد كم مهلي كرنا
حاسف يعني انا جروب سوشيال ميديا
هيو أستاذ ما سنت
yeah anyone else
engineer aad waa maasanta horta kulanka wax badan waa ku faa'iidnay marka kaliya waxaa wadaa sessionada camal xogaa waxaa leeyahay time fiican oo baahan yihiin marka aad ka bacdi ugu yaraan 2 hours camal aa lagu soo tagalo saanayn wax badan ofan hadda xogaa baashina qabiyo waay laakiin alxamdulillah wax badan waa ka faa'iidnay marka aad ayaga magacelinaa insha allah
yeah so they don't end up samina anyone else إذا عبد السودو هذا الله يحبك فريس أنت نتيجة حاجة
aad u mahadsantahay engineer sidow iyo dhammaan asxaabta kasoo qayb gashay programka sidoo kaleento waa salaama bunni horta caawada waxaa waaye big session qaadanay oo reinforcement learning oo qaybta AI oo waxaan leeyahay maalmahana aragno oo LNS-ka iyo waxyaabaha robotics-ka lagu dhiso markii la joogo AI-ga waxaan soo aragnaa badanaa AI-yada oo models-ka machine learning waxyaabahaas waxaa ku dhisnaa data label loo sameynaa kuwa supervised-ka in patterns oo wax uu ka barto iyo waxyaabahaas laakiin reinforcement way ka duwan tahay more deeply waaye like waxaa waaye reward and action just wixii qaladku u sameeyo wax ka barana hadduu saxan yahay sidoo u barto waaye hadduu qaldan yahayna wuxuu ka barana cashir next time wuu fix kareena marka wuxuu leeyahay initial point oo laga soo bilaabo action point macnaha tusaale ahaan state uu leeyahay stateka uu meesha ku bilaabanayo dana reward wuxuu samayn doonaa action uu samayn doonaa actionkaas reward uu ka heli doonaa marka laakiin sida bini'aadamka oo kaleento modeliska u shaqeeya waaye waxaan rajaynayaa insha allah community-ga AI Soomaaliya muhiimadiisa waxay tahay in guud ahaan Soomaaliya dadka AI experts ka raba inay noqdaan engineerska ama kuwa expertiga iyo kuwa bilaawaba inay isku imaadaan wax knowledge la share kare hadda waxaa isku daynay in banaanka Soomaaliya dadka inaa oo ayaga knowledge ka helno si oo AI popular ugu noqoto gudaha Soomaaliya marka aad u mahadsantihiin next session is kalento waxaan samayn doonaa more practical maadaama caawad introduction uu ahaa waxaan samayn doonaa practical sessions sidoo gacanta taago sameeyay maqlaynaa
waxaan maqlaa waxaan jeclaan lahaa inaa bunmi sii fasaxno maadaama session kale leedahay so yeah thank you so much bunmi yeah we would like to have you another session but yeah thank you for tonight yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Puni, for your time.
Yeah, engineer was able to get
like next sessions kale waxaan samayn doonaa insha allah more practical qaarkeen hadda waxaa laga yaabaa in different areas ay ka yimaadaan models loo dhisaysan aqoonin machine learning waxyaabaas aysan aqoonin waana machine learning waxyaabaha koorsooyin hore usoo qaadan jiraan oo workshops kaleento hadda reinforcement iyo aragnay next haddana sidee model loo dhisaa step by step oo kaleento inaan qaadano in machine learning-ka ama reinforcement aato dadka lagu dhisaayo insha allah bil walbana qof saan oo kaleenta idin soo qabano oo wax idinla wadaaga doolid insha allah. Sidoo kaleento community-ga daraad wuxuu soo bandhigay haddaa groupka ku jirtaan dad oo volunteers oo ka naqanayo community-ga inay ku biiraan si volunteer ah. waxaan jeclahay inaa buuxiseen oo daba gasheen insha allah. community inaa part ka naqateen waxay kaa saacidaysaa maxaa lahaye safarkaagi oo AI dhankaas hadhuutii dad badanaan la xiri doontaa, networking aa samayn doontaa, cilmigaaga wuu ziyaadi doonaa, more leadership nimana waa ku baran doontaa sidii waxa u hagaajin lahayd. mar haddii la joogo waxbarashadana waxay u baahan tahay environment ama community dad mar walba arag markii shay la sameeyo waxaa loo sameeya community. communitygaas maxay tahay? shaygaas community dadka isticmaalo community ama barto. community waa knowledge sharing inay ka qaataan, wax cusub kusoo kordhiyaan, sida loo wado like wadankaaga Soomaaliya maadaama wax aad baranaysid kaliya calooshaada inaad u shaqaysatay wax u baranaysid wadankaaga Soomaaliya AI-ga adduunka wax loogu qabanayo wax uu qaban kartaa models wax intifaac leh oo wadankii oo dhaqaalihiisa wax ka bedeli karo shirkad weyn oo dhaqaalaha wadanka wax ka bedeli karta ma asaasi kartaa ma samayn kartaa. that's why waxaa ka fikirayna arabna dadkii adhuutii wadanka hogaamin lahaa inay meesha kasoo baxaan oo leaderska naqanaya. marka aad umahadsantihiin hawada. insha allah teamka inay intaan team waxaa kalo teamka waxaa jira oo banaanka naga daawanayo. waxaan jeclaan doonaa teamka next mar walba team aan ku qaadan doonaa. teams Microsoft waa kasoo guuri doonaa maxaa lahaye Google Meeting iyo waxyaabahaas dad badan aan aqoonina aragnay. dada hadda banaanka taagan oo weli aan soo galin gudaha laakiin meeting kala socdo teamna gudaha ku jiraan. insha allah aad umahadsantihiin waqtiga aana siiseen kasoo qaybgalkiina aad idinkaga mahadcelinaa doolid insha allah. slideska iyo waxyaabaha resourceska oo dhanne groupka idin ku soo wadaagi doonaa doolid insha allah. sidoo aad umahadsantahay.
hal mar su'aal waxaan filaa meetingka waa recording. meetingku waa recording after waxaan maleynaa dhowr saacadood kadib si toos u soo bixi doonaa. so ninkii isu diiween dhowr saacadood kadib hadaa kusoo laabataan asoo recording aa heliysaan. sidoo kale slide waa sidoo idin soo wadaaga. su'aal qaba hadduu jiro meetingkeena intaas oo nagu xiran insha allah. engineer نصيحة عبد العزيز.
okay dhammaan asxaabta haddaa wax team qof su'aal qabuusan jirin cashirkeen macnaha cawada ama cashir ma dhihi karne workshopkeeni yaraa oo qaabka reinforcement introductionkeeni intaasuu nagu egyahay haddooladba insha allah. aad umahadsantihiin timekiina habeen wanaagsan.
Hello, ma helaynaa recording session